everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloe here in Abuja. Tonight we start with a rather disturbing story which escalated badly today in the nation's capital, Abuja, where 2 police officers are said to have been killed and 3 others are unconscious following a clash between police operatives and members of the proscribed Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, popularly known as the Shiites in the Wuse area of Abuja. The spokesperson of the Federal Capital Territory Police Command, Josephine Ade, confirms the attack, which happened earlier today, describing the attack as unprovoked while accusing the group of destroying 3 police patrol vehicles. Now, we're following also what is happening in Lagos for you. This time is the gathering of Nigerian lawyers for their conference, where the former Minister of Finance and the Director General of the WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has been speaking as one of the keynote speakers and the opening day of the conference, which is saying governors, the Vice President Kashim Shettima are in attendance. She has urged politicians in Nigeria to stop weaponizing insecurity against their opposition in office. She also said there are enough technological innovations to track crude oil theft and bring those behind the act to justice in Nigeria. She said those responsible for stopping the intolerable action of crude oil theft no longer have no excuses. And she also spoke about the national policy on stabilizing the economy in Nigeria. Take a listen to Dr. Okonjo-Iweala.
We all understand that where policies are bad and not working, of course, politics should intervene. But where things are working to the good, we ask, why fix what is not broken? To minimize the volatility of economic and social policy, and to set our country on a steady growth and development path, rather than an episodic growth path, I have become increasingly convinced that Nigeria needs a social contract. By this I mean a fundamental cross-party, cross-society agreement that certain things in the economy, in the country, in policy and in society are sacrosanct and shall not be touched or changed when administrations change. And the private sector and Nigeria's civil society, including influential actors like the NBA, have important roles to play in policing a social contract and holding the political class accountable.
All right, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala there earlier today, speaking at the NBA conference in Lagos. Tonight, our focus will be on education in Nigeria and some of the issues that have been raised over the past months. This evening, we have an important conversation with the Honorable Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, who will be delving into the recent policies introduced under the Tinubu administration, critically examining the state of education in Nigeria in the light of the many promises made by this government, with increasing concerns about the quality of our institutions and a growing number of Nigerians opting for foreign degrees over Nigerian qualifications. We seek to understand the government's strategy for reforming our education sector and restoring confidence in our local degrees. The Honorable Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, joins us live in our Abuja studio here. It's a pleasure having you tonight, Professor Mamman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much.
I think the latest comment, there are a few latest in your ministry in respect of some of the recent activities. Yeah. On one hand is a education loan fund for Nigerian students. On the other hand is a policy which you announced a few days ago about some foreign institution, Republic of Benin and Togo. And you made some very far-reaching proclamation, I would rather call them, which a lot of people have been debating. First and foremost, let's get the clarity on the education loan fund, 50 billion naira. That is what NELFund has gotten from the EFCC. How much so far has been gotten? What is the status of that policy, and what is going on exactly?
Thank you very much. As you know, the NELFund Students Loan Scheme is one of the most transformative policies of this government, which underscores the desire of the president, expressed desire of the president, that no Nigerian child should fail to go to school on account of poverty of the parents and their ward. And so it has been a very revolutionary step. And Nigerian students have stepped forward to avail themselves of the money. And so far, the NELFund has gotten about 120 billion. Initially they had about 70 billion to start off with. And then of recent, another 50 billion was given to them, and probably some other funds which I can't provide details of now. And students have applied in hundreds of thousands. In particular, as of yesterday, we have about 218, thereabout, 218 students who have applied. And
218?
218,000. Yeah, who have applied. And with 28,000, being paid money already. About 3 billion have been paid out already to them. And then the institutions where these students are have also benefited in a couple of billions. So it's a policy that is very active and working. And then it is accessible to all students, eligible students, without any restrictions whatsoever, except just to establish that they are students in a tertiary education system. This is where we are.
So in terms of, this is the very first semester, one would say.
Yes.
And this is kicking off. The last time we were speaking with the NELFund coordinator, he was talking about the key thing, the starting point, but the question as to how these monies are going to be paid back, because for some of you who have enjoyed foreign education, if you get loans to study as someone from either the UK or the US, you have a long time to after when you started to work to pay back to the government or wherever gives you the loan. But has the government really thought out the procedure of how these funds are going to get back, or these are grants that are never to come back to the government coffers?
No, at the moment they are not grants, they are loans. And as you have said, this is just the first 3 months that this loan has taken off. And the government is quite conscious of that. The law actually has provided for a repayment period. And I know the fund is already working on the criteria on how to get the funds recovered. And so the way it started, the speed with which it started, I believe, sooner than later, that part of it will also be addressed.
So it's still very mild on anybody who is a beneficiary. It's not like some loan institutions who run after you, after your parents or after your siblings to get this loan. But what exactly would you say is the ultimate goal of this government? What are the numbers you are working with? Is this going to include private institutions at some point, or is ever going to target public institutions?
Well, I will not go into speculations at the moment, but it's only appropriate to agree for now that these loans should be available to students in public institutions, because going to private means some element of ability on the part of the parents or ward who are sponsoring their students. And if you look at what is available really to under the loan, it's far, far less than what students pay in private universities, both for tuition and upkeep. So for now, I see in the foreseeable future that this loan is going to be available only to those in public institutions. And there are quite a lot of them anyway.
I mean, if you're talking about funding a student here in Nigeria, there are those who will say, Minister, this government has failed some Nigerians studying abroad, who the government started funding them a few months into when this government came into power. Their funding stopped. Some of them stranded overseas, cannot pay for their accommodation, feeding and all that. Are you aware of that scenario?
No, Sheldon, their funding has not stopped. The students we have out there are those under the bilateral agreements of various countries. And the counterpart funding from Nigeria has been processed, for at least from the ministry, for close to 3 months now. And they are at the tail end of getting their money, which at the moment is in the CBN. It is my own expectation that the week we have entered, that they will get their money, because
in this very week.
That's my expectation, because it has been with the CBN now close to 6 months, 6 weeks, close to 6 weeks.
But are those who have the money realize the kind of harrowing experience some of these students are going through?
I, as a person and as a parent, as a teacher, I do understand that and really sympathize with the students and the parents. And I hope other players in this regard will understand that. And I believe any reasonable person would do. Because we know the difficulties people encounter when you are abroad, no other dependent, maybe they are not eligible for any type of facility from any bank or any other person. So really, they are in a very difficult situation, and we should all rally around to ensure that they get what is due to them. And I want to encourage the CBN to clear the money payable to the students this week.
Before I move away from all of that, the statistics of the application for the NEL fund, does it come to you as a surprise? Especially if you break it down state by state, region by region, and the percentage that's come from some parts of the country. Are you surprised at those statistics?
Well, I am not surprised about it because, as I said, NEL form started just about 2 months now in practical terms. So the sensitization is already ongoing. The management of NEL fund has been going all over the country to enlighten universities, potential students, and parents about the existence of the fund and what's available to them. And the vice chancellors too, the management of universities all over the place, they are also sensitizing their students because it's the benefits are double. Students get, and then the universities are paid their tuition. So it may be a bit slow in some cases, but overall, I think we are on the right track, and the students are getting to know about this. And part of the problem for what may seem to be, if at all, I don't even agree with that, but what would appear to be some students, not coming onto it, is documentation in a lot of universities. It's one of the requirements is admission by JAM or through JAM. So any student who is not admitted through JAM, will not qualify, because that is one of the first thing to element that establish his studentship. And so a lot of institutions are struggling to get their documentation on students appropriate and proper for their students to qualify for this.
Well, are you aware of the agitation in the Southeast that there seems to be a deliberate exclusion of that region from this policy?
I am not aware, and I'm actually surprised that somebody will hold that opinion, because there's absolutely no reason for it. As I have said, there are no restrictions whatsoever, and there's no quota for now on it. is absolutely open to everybody. Every person, the only criteria for eligibility is being a student, establish that you are a student in the eligible institutions in Nigeria. So it's just for people simply to go into the website of NELFON and do the application.
But there seems to be more northern applicants in this policy, and those who have politicians have come out to say, oh, they're surprised at that, considering some perception about the kind of response or reception of this kind of policies on education in this part of the country. Are you surprised? I mean, as a professor and a former vice chancellor, are you surprised about that notion?
I am indeed, because there is no barrier whatsoever to anybody from any part of the country, to apply and benefit from this scheme. So a lot of times we impute certain motive which are not there. And I mean, if you look at the management of that place, that place is led by somebody from the southwest, and then even their law is very clear about the equity and fairness with which the loan is to be applied. And so I really cannot imagine that somebody will take this kind of position at the moment. So what they should do is to encourage students, either themselves or, as the fund is already doing now, go around the country to do a lot of sensitization. And I think the last time I spoke with the MD, he was somewhere in the east, one of the eastern in the eastern zone, to sensitize institutions, because these are their students. It's not from any other place, Maki or anywhere. These are universities, and I expect the vice chancellors, leadership of universities to step up, the publicity and the sensitization for their students, because it's good for them. Because in addition to students, as I say, getting money, the institutions are also benefiting a lot from it. So they need to do that.
Talk to us about these policy that you made about the degrees coming from some universities in Benin Republic and Togo. This is not the first time we are hearing from your office about some degree awarding institutions in some of these West African or African countries.
Yeah.
What have you found out? What led to that policy? And those will be asking the question, now that you have done that, you, by the force of retroactive measure, you have retrieved those degrees or make them invalidated. Isn't that harsh?
So it cannot by any imagination be harsh. We didn't invalidate them simply from Nigeria. Even by the laws establishing those institutions in their countries, they are not recognized. So all that we have done here in Nigeria is to say, look, we went to institutions which even the laws in those countries don't recognize as degree awarding institutions. So why should we here recognize them? And in any case, it's very painful for me when you see Nigerian students toil for 4, 5, 6 years to get their degrees. Some end up with 2-2, some even with third class, only to compete in the market with people who have degrees, probably who have not even stepped out of the shores of Nigeria, because a lot of them have not even left this country.
And they're offering those degrees.
They got those certificates from there.
But they bought them, or just some form from racketeering?
It's a racketeering.
People sit at home here.
Yeah, they pay some money here, and then they have agents, who go and do the paperwork with the immigration, with the institutions over there, and then they have a certificate. And usually, such people will have first-class, high-grade certificate qualifications. And to me, honestly, these are even danger to our country, because somebody is showcasing a qualification, a certificate, for which he has no knowledge whatsoever. Absolutely no knowledge. So you come into the country, get employed probably into the civil service, even some medical related programs. You go into a hospital and be working there. What is going to dispense there other than to kill people? So it's this certificate incidentally actually is a global problem. It's not even a matter peculiar to Nigeria or West Africa. It's a global problem, just like financial issues, which people do. So for us, what makes it a bit easy for these people is that these are our neighbors. These are neighboring countries, and that you have now institutions that capitalize on first on the gullibility, and then on the insincerity of some of our people. Because if you are a parent, for God's sake, why would you want to go through that kind of thing? Collect money, take out money and give to one. Probably spend 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, into an institution which is not recognized at all.
You've identified these institutions, right? Isn't it?
Yes, we have.
It means that anybody that have gotten employment, some of them may have even gone for NYC. So are you prosecuting, or are you just leaving this to just play out?
The decision of the Federal Executive Council is that, first of all, those certificates are invalid and prohibited. Then the Secretary of Government of Nigeria and the head of civil service of the Federation will now fish out anybody who is in employment of the government in the MDAs. And we expect the private sector to do the same. It's very simple. If you go to IPPS through the office where the MDAs actually are scrutinized, you can easily fish out.
So what the government is saying, that anybody who has a degree or a certificate from all of these institutions is fraudulent.
Those who are not recognized in those countries, we know them. There are about three in Togo. Okay. Those are the recognized ones.
So there is a list of them.
5, yes, about 5 of them in
Benin Republic.
In Benin, those ones are recognized. Those ones, no problem with them. But every other institution outside this number, this list, those ones are not recognized. They are illegal institutions. And Nigeria will have nothing to do with the qualification.
So these ones from Togo, these ones are the one licensed from Togo.
That's right.
So there are other 5.
Yes,
from Benin Republic.
From Benin.
Outside of those, any degree that has been awarded that is being shown by any Nigerian in Nigeria is illegal.
Correct.
And are you planning to prosecute such persons carrying those degrees?
That is what is the decision of actually the government.
Could anybody had obtained this degree innocently and really done the work? Is it possible?
Showing ignorance of the law is not an excuse whatsoever. And basically, there is what is called due diligence. If anybody is going out of the shores of this country to study, the basic thing somebody should do as a parent or even as a student, these are adults, is to make due diligence on the institutions he's going to. There are some institutions over there that are approved, but they are only for professional courses, okay, especially in Benin. They are professional courses. They don't have authority or license to offer degrees. Now, those institutions, because of gullibility of Nigerians, lack of due diligence, they go to them. They offer those degrees, which they are not approved. They are not approved and acceptable in those countries.
So you have a long list of, you have identified only in Benin Republic and Togo, isn't it?
Yes.
But
yes.
And you see, not only in these countries do we have fake degrees and fake institutions.
Correct.
In fact, Nigeria may even have worse situation. Recently, NUC listed 58 fake universities, and they listed their names. And a lot of people wonder how Nigeria has such a long list of fake universities being paraded. You can see their billboards, you can see their, them advertising all over the place.
Well, that is why I said earlier on that it's a global problem, and Nigeria has not been exempt from it. But the Universities Commission has been up and running. At least this is the good thing here. And they were never, they were delisted at some point, and then the police was sent after them to close them. And if you see them around, you will know that these are really very fake institutions where they operate from. And so NUC has been up and running in respect of the Nigerian end. But in other places, it's not their citizens who are attending, so they will not be bothered. It's our people, it's a source of money for a lot of them. So it's not.
Unfortunately, thousands of people are falling victim.
I wouldn't call them victims.
Yeah.
They are not victims. So
you think that they are also culprits?
They are culprits.
Intentional culprits?
Absolutely correct.
You listed about 21,600.
Yes, from the two countries, at least for now.
Not even from the 58 fake universities in Nigeria.
Well, I don't have information on any fake university in Nigeria. If I do, we would have gone after them.
No, NUC listed 58.
No, that was
listed their names.
And that was before. They have been delisted and they have been, I think, chased out of business. They are no longer there.
All right, let's take a break. But when we come back, there's so much to talk about. You also made a policy about a minimum age for entering into university. It seems you back track on that policy. Want to find out what exactly happened? We take a break, everyone. Our conversation with Professor Tahir Mama continues right after. Now, we want to know these policies under the Tinubu government as it affects education and the future of generation yet unborn. We'll be right back after this break. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's continue our conversation with the Honorable Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mama. Thanks so much indeed, Honorable Minister, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
On this issue of the quality of certificates or awards that Nigerians possess, gives a lot of people worry and calls to question the quality of education or the Nigerian institution here in Nigeria, and the kind of quality that is being, or how even the Nigerian institution are being perceived or are judged by global standards. And if you look at some of the standards in which Nigerians in the ranking, Nigeria Education System is ranked 124th out of 137 countries in the Global Competitiveness Report. A data from UNESCO says over 75,000 Nigerians are currently studying abroad, the significant number pursuing degrees in the United States, UK, and Canada. You will see the appetite of many Nigerians wanting to go. And it's also because sometimes no Nigerian university is even graded or ranked in the first 10 in Africa. It is that bad a lot of the time. What are you doing to turn around some of these ugly reputation that our institution has? Some times ago, many years ago, the University of Ibadan, the Obafemi Awolowo University, University of Lagos, and some of these institutions, they are highly rated globally. But now, the reputation is not very good.
Well, to start with, let me say that I have no issues with Nigerians going out to Europe, America to study. It's a good thing. And if you look at also what Asians do, Chinese, Indians, if you go to US, you see lots and millions, hundreds of thousands of them studying there. And some returning home, some not going back home. And so it's with this globalization, it's not a bad thing for your citizens to be all over the world studying. And ordinarily, I will not attribute that to the problem of standards back home. It's just really the kind of thing which globalization has brought to the world. Now, on the ranking of Nigerian institutions, yes, we are not where we want to be in terms of general ranking, but there has been improvement over the years, and we've had the universities improving significantly, actually, in the ranking of ranking institutions in the world. And the Ibadan you mentioned, UNILAG, Covenant, AFAB, Afia Babalola, they've been able to move forward, very significantly in rankings, global rankings. And I am also aware that some of our institutions like BUK, UNILAC, they have a very, very robust, bilateral and research collaboration activities going on with many, many universities. And they've been able to showcase a lot of breakthrough researches, which we as a country sometimes we don't celebrate. And honestly, I have had case one time when I was in Kano, to commission some of their projects to, encourage them, to advertise some of these achievements, some of these feats in research and publications, and so that the rest of the world can know. But let me tell you where the main problem, where we really have a problem. While our universities do come up with breakthrough researches, there is no off-takers out there. You need industry that will work with the universities to take their research products, their research outputs into products. And because we don't have much of manufacturing and much of industry that is into doing things practically in practical terms, our researchers have been a bit frustrated in not seeing their research products being converted to products like it is with the rest of the world. And where they do have partnerships abroad, they are offered peanuts, the shorter end of the stick in terms of what will come to them as a benefit. So that has been the lot of the universities.
But are you improving on that?
Yes.
Because COVID showed us how universities and research institutions are important to our society.
Absolutely.
Most of the American and the UK institutions, their research were immediate product of what changed their societies and their lives around, and helped save a lot of lives during the COVID era. But in Nigeria, we were helpless. We threw our hands in the air and we were waiting for the rest of the world to save us. That was when we realized that most of our medical research institutions are moribund. They're not even producing virtually nothing.
No. The research institutions are producing a lot, Sheldon.
At the time when we needed them for COVID, we were on that matter every day, Prof.
Yes, I know.
When we needed them, they were nowhere to be found because they were not either funded or they were not properly coordinated.
In terms of funding, TED Fund has been doing a lot in terms of funding research. But what I'm saying is that the job of university academia and researchers is to do the research and come up with the idea. The production of the conversion of that idea into a product is not really their work. It's the work of businessmen and the industry. So this is where we have a lot of work. And already we have an ongoing conversation on that with Dangote, Dubois, and some other people in the industry. And they are very happy for us to have, a tripartite meeting, for them to be able to key into ongoing researches in the tertiary institutions.
Yeah, I'm going to go into your DOTS policy, which one hopes, and I'm very expectant to see how this works. Because if you look at all of the statistics, none is in our favor in this country. And most of these researches and reports are from global institutions like the UNICEF and the rest of them. Reports saying that only 6 Nigerian universities among the top 100 in Africa, and with none making it to the top 500 globally, it's not making us look good at all. And you will wonder, Prof, that in Nigeria today, if you lament that the industries are really not utilizing the research work of the institution, the question is that how up to date are some of the curriculum? 1, 2, how also relevant are the researches to the society? The immediate problem, how have we not been able to have a landmark research on malaria that's killing people every day? And things that are peculiar to our own situation. We have diseases that are peculiar to our culture, to our environment, to our climate. So I want to see how this DOTS policy of your administration is going to change this around. Can you explain that?
Well, as I said at the beginning or earlier on, our universities are doing quite a lot of research, and we want to bridge the gap between what is called gown and the town, where the researches that are of value to the community, come out of the institutions, and then for society's benefit. Now, some of the funding that we're doing now is going into establishing state-of-the-art laboratories. Like this year, for instance, it is part of the guidelines approved by the president for TED Fund to establish state-of-the-art laboratories, research laboratories, multi-purpose research laboratories in Nigeria. And then, as I said earlier on, we are going to have this engagement with industry, with the players, the big players in industry, so that they can connect, and have this nexus with researches going on in the universities. Now, coming back to our dots, when we came into government 1 year ago, one of the things that we did, as a leadership of the ministry, is to study the problem on ground. First, it's been a common refrain that there's a learning crisis at the basic education level. Learning crisis in the sense that those in primary, basic education, and even senior secondary school, are unable to read and write. The percentage of those who cannot read and write and comprehend, what they have read is very low. And again, our students, our pupils, the learners, they don't learn, they don't imbibe what is called critical thinking in their process of study and learning. So it's more of about regurgitating really what teachers give them and all that. And then, of course, the issue of so many millions of children out of school. So we now synthesize, the policy that is on ground together with the deliverables which the government provided for the ministry. And we concluded to implement what we call a DOTS policy. One, DOTS. And D stands for data aggregation and coordination for the whole country. Right now, UNICEF will tell you we have 18 million people out of school. World Bank has its own figure. The ministry is working with a figure about 10.2 million, that sort of thing. And the last time there was some element of data here and there on Nigeria was 2003. And honestly, this is a very shameful situation. And we think we need to know right from primary school, if not early child education, we need to know every child who is in school in Nigeria, right from that stage up to the university level. And it's through that data we'll also know the learning capabilities of learners. Where people are poor, where people are doing well, those who have gone out of school, those who are still in school, gender, parity, and then monitor their annual progress in school. So that's what we are.
The data aggregation.
The data aggregation.
The O, T, and S.
The O is the out of school. That's part of the major policy of this government, to see these young children out of school.
What is the number you're working with? How drastically do you want to reduce the number?
Well, left to us, we are working towards clearing everybody, if not 70 to 80% at the least.
What figure are you working? The UNICEF figure? Or which of the figures are you working
with? We're not working with any figure. Because we are going to come up with our own figure.
In less than 10 years, we had about 11 million. That's what the data is telling us of out-of-school children.
And they are also telling us that we are having new students or new out-of-school 5 million every year. Every year we have about 5 million students getting out of school. And, so that's why whichever figure you pick, it's not really very, very helpful to us. And so we are going to generate our own figure And we were just delayed by procurement process, which I understand is now at the advanced stage of conclusion. So I believe next 6 months, we should have that data so that from Ministry of Education, I'll be able to punch our dashboard. I know what is happening in Lagos in a primary school, secondary school, know what is happening in Taraba in a primary school. The same thing the governor of Lagos will be able to punch his dashboard, and so we know what is happening in any school within his state.
What about the T and S?
The T is teacher support and development, because for you to push and drive any policy, you need to have the right category of teachers, you need to have the right number of teachers, you need to have teachers who are properly motivated and supported in terms of welfare and everything. So we are already reviewing existing policies on teacher support and development. That's what the T is, because they are the drivers of any reform. Mm-hmm. Now, skill is so terribly important, because when you clear the out of school, or at least substantially you clear them, out of school is a pool of water. So unless you are able to address the problem that is making people to leave school, it will continue to flow. It will continue to be fed. Okay. So the S is about skilling the entire education system, right from primary school, right through basic education and senior secondary school. With trades, we want to have a situation where every learner who passes through all those levels of education would have acquired at least 2 lifelong skills.
Let me pause it for a moment, Prof, because we're due for another break. But when we come back, more on some of these policies. And of course, the university lecturers are also warning about a possible strike. Should the federal government not listen to them, we'll get what the federal government is doing to address those grievances. Plus, what is the lowest or the minimum age required to enter into a Nigerian university? We'll get the confirmation from the minister after this break, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's continue now with our conversation with Professor Taki Maman, the Minister of Education. And our closing moment now. You've talked about your DOTS policy and hoping that all of these translate dramatically in changing the scenario of the perception of Nigerian university, the quality of education, the output and the quality of research, and how it affects our society, and of course, eventually leaving no one behind, because those children who are less privileged and those who are privileged, nobody should be left behind in attaining an education that anyone wants. But the issue of minimum age required to enter Nigerian universities, what exactly is the status now? Is it 18 or 16 years?
Well, nothing has changed, Sheon. It is 18. What we did at the meeting that we had with JAM was to allow this year and for it to serve as a kind of notice for parents that, look, this year, yes, JAM will admit students who are below that age. But from next year, JAM is going to insist that anybody going to apply to go to University of Nigeria meets the required age, which is 18. And for the avoidance of doubt, this is not a new policy. This is a policy that has been there for a long time. And even basically, if you compute the number of years learners are supposed to be in school, the number you end up with is 17 and a half. From early child care to primary school, then junior secondary school, and then the senior secondary school. You will end up with 17 and a half. And by the time they are ready, the school year is ready for admission, you have that's the age that they will be ready for admission. So we are not actually coming up with new policy contrary to what some people are saying. We are just simply reminding people of what is existing. And in any case, NECO and WAEC, henceforth, will not be allowing underage children to write their examinations. In other words, if somebody has not spent the requisite number of years, in that particular level of study, why? And NECO will not allow them to write the examinations.
What is the minimum age to write those examinations in Nigeria?
It's not a matter of age. It's actually the years spent at each level of education.
So one imagine that there are stages of education in Nigeria.
Yes.
There is the primary education, which
even
is
before
6
that,
years.
early care.
Early
5 years, yeah.
5 years.
5 years.
You enter primary one at 6.
Yes.
Yeah. You are supposed to spend 6 years.
6 years there
in primary school.
Exactly.
As at 12, you are expected to graduate if you are not a repeater
exactly.
of any of the class.
That's right.
Then you move at 12 to JSS1,
which is 3 years again.
Which is 3 years.
Yeah.
So at 15,
yes.
you're expected to move to the senior secondary class.
3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
So at 18, you are expected to graduate.
That's right. That's right. I'm ready for university.
So when we imagine that there are smart students.
Yes.
It means that no matter how smart you are, you must confine to those ages. I mean, to the minimum age requirement, isn't it?
At the moment, this is what we have, but it's very legitimate to appeal to look at that window and say, okay, how do we cater for our smart children? And this is a conversation for another day. Well, other countries too, they do similar. They have their age, specifications for each level of education. But again, they look at the possibility of smart children. But, a lot of times in our own country, what sometimes is a window eventually becomes the door. So it's a conversation for another day.
Perhaps where we will have to draw the curtains is on the plight of the teachers and workers in the higher institution. ASU, for example, last week gave government 21 days and the pointed steps taken by the government to avert this, and they're saying those steps taken to permanently get proactive where labor unions don't necessarily have to embark on strike. Are you worried that, the era of ASU strike, because they've been talking, even NASU and SANU
and not,
all of them are talking, and no one wants to see that situation where these workers will have to be clamoring for their wages and entitlement. What are you doing to ensure that the ultimate drawback, which is the strike, doesn't happen?
Well, thank you, Sean. Our president has been very emphatic that he wants to have a stable 4-year period, and he holds education very dear to his heart, and he's been doing a lot actually to support education. And anytime he hears about issues coming up, in education, especially at the tertiary level, he intervened very quickly to ensure that problems are addressed. If you take the issue of IPPS, for instance, and, the president swiftly intervened to ensure that tertiary institutions in Nigeria don't have to rush or go to head of service for authority. No, to simply allow them to implement and be guided by the law setting up those institutions. Now, I have been in the university for over 30-something years. That has been my territory. And I know what is happening there, both in the public sector and the private sector. And I have always said, we share their vision. All the things that ASU and other unions are agitating for are things which I share with them. Our only concern, as I've always told them, is how we achieve those visions. And when we came on board, we initiated discussions, under the radar discussions with all the unions. Just 2 weeks after we were inaugurated as ministers, we started that conversation.
But we need to go minister.
Yes, to be sustained.
So are you assuring that you are going to meet their demands?
Wednesday we are meeting with them. It was supposed to be Monday, but because of logistics of their coming to Abuja, the president asked that we meet on Wednesday. So we are going to engage ourselves and have a conversation. Some of the problems are historical, really. Some are things some are existing policies which can easily be implemented. So,
Prof, we need to go. Thank you so much, Professor Tahir Mamman, Honorable Minister for Education. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
My pleasure, Sean. Thanks.
That's our conversation with the Minister of Education. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm Sean Akimale. Bye for now.